Morning, guys, wherever you are. Sorry, the engine's on because I have to charge this this mobile and warm this car up as well. There's something that's vibrating. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's something that's vibrated. I've been doing the carnivore diet, and I'll have to switch this off. Let's do my edit. Oh, that's better. I've been doing the carnivore diet, and I just failed. How do I mean failed? Well, you might watch one video about a certain subject, and then you get recommended that video or those type of videos constantly, and so I keep getting recommended No Carb Life. He's one guy in, I think, Australia. He interviews people. He doesn't really talk much. He lets them talk. He starts off with, Jane or John, how did you start carnivore or something like that? And then the person, goes on. I think his name is Dave Mack, and so the person goes on and on about their problem. How the carnivore diet saved them, but it's easy to get brainwashed by all these, these videos. A recent one was, it said something like, "Why vegans have smaller brains." It's just like. That's, how do you say, that's fighting talk. Why do they have to make these videos, to cause problems between these two groups? And the carnivores, they're worse as the vegan. Those vegans that are very political, very, I say, militant, very it has to be their way or no way. Well, the carnivores are the same. They're becoming the same. It's a cult. It's like the vegans, some vegan circles or whatever. It's just like a cult. You see some vegan videos, vegan channels. It's like a cult. It's easy pointing the finger at them, but now the carnivores have to point the finger at themselves. They are becoming, if not already, a cult. They can't be questioned. It's just, what is it? A Dr. Chaffee. He says plants are trying to kill you. And this goes back to a lecture that one of his professors, I think it was cancer biology or something like that, said. But it's bollocks, absolute bollocks. If these people are not debunked, what happens is that these people end up influence other people because of because he says he's a doctor, and so people think, oh wow, doctor, he must be right. No, there's so many doctors that are wrong. They're right in, they're as right as possible, in their field, oncology or orthopedic surgeon or whatever. But when it comes to diet and nutrition, just because you're a doctor, it doesn't mean you're right. You can be as wrong as anybody out there, as wrong as me. How could you know more than a doctor? Because I have more research, like YouTube videos and stuff, and looking online than they have ever had. They study nutrition for just a few hours in their whole, their whole study, the whole time they've been studying. They study pathology, the way the body works and everything, but they haven't studied nutrition, what diet could do to your body. I'm not saying I know more, but any of you out there could know as much as any doctor when it comes to diet and nutrition, because they're not taught that. You can get books on diet and nutrition. You can do your own kind of research and have a better idea, maybe a better idea. And maybe doctors don't study that because they believe it doesn't matter. And so they might actually, I don't know, they might be right. I think it does matter. What you eat does matter. And, for example, when you've got histamine intolerance, you can't eat really high histamine foods without getting a reaction. So it does matter. If you've got a peanut allergy, it does matter if you eat peanuts. So it's just like the doctor saying, it doesn't matter. Of course, the doctor won't say that. When it comes to peanut allergy, oh, that's an actual medical emergency. It's an actual allergy. It's not an intolerance. Yeah, the difference is that your immune system, or I don't know, and the antibodies, your your alarm system isn't spiked high enough. But, I might eat, I don't know, wheat, for example, like shredded wheat, for example, or something like that. And in the evening, I'll start sneezing. My ears become red. That's an inflammatory reaction of the gut. Eyes red and itchy. So I have an intolerance. It's not an all-out allergic reaction where I've got like asphyxiation when I can't breathe. Yeah, that must be really bad. So it's that level, but intolerance is this level. But I bet you a person that has peanut allergy can eat any bloody food they want. I can't, because I have an intolerance to quite a few things. So which one is worse? The person who has peanut allergy can just avoid peanuts or nuts completely and have a completely healthy life. But I've got various intolerances, and I have to avoid certain foods, and so my body is not getting the nutrients that it should get. So I have to be, really careful when it comes to eating food. Otherwise, I'll end up not getting enough nutrition, or getting the nutrition that I want but suffering. So anyway, I tried the carnivore diet a few times. The first time, I'm quite a chicken, so I dabbled. I just dipped my toe the first time and went in slowly. When I was in London, I was getting these night sweats, and so the guy next door, he's like a trainer, physical trainer, and he was laughing. He goes, "Oh, those are the meat sweats." And I said, "Okay, nothing to do with like the bone broth being full of lead or heavy metals, because I was cooking the bone broth for hours and hours, sometimes for days, 2 or 3 days, with apple cider vinegar to extract as much as I could from the bone. But the problem is, I think I've seen in other videos online that, and some studies that say that bone broth is high in lead. I'm not sure if it's mercury, but other heavy metals. So the more you soak it, the more you cook it, the more it extracts lead and heavy metals out of the bone. Plus, the more you cook it, the higher the histamine. So high histamine isn't good for me, and I didn't know at the time why I was suffering. I was getting these night sweats, ears all red. I didn't understand why, but that meant inflammation. So what I did is I stopped doing that. And the other attempt, okay, when I came to live in Norwich, I tried it properly for about 10 days. I ended up in hospital. I felt really faint. I collapsed. And then when I went to hospital, they checked my blood pressure, I think, was high. My cholesterol was through the roof. My kidney markers weren't good. And so they said, like, stop eating this way. Whatever you're doing, just stop. I was dehydrated as well. So I went to see a kidney doctor, and he said, "Oh, it's okay. You're." Well, I went to see a nurse, and they checked my kidney, creatinine, things like that, and it wasn't so bad. It wasn't good, but it wasn't so bad, for my age. So then, you keep watching these videos, and I thought, okay, let me just go a little bit vegan, But I didn't feel well, because then I started to have these histamine problems. They got worse and worse and worse, and I didn't know why until I looked into histamine intolerance, and I thought, oh, wow. So I went onto a low histamine diet. So I had to avoid tomato, avocado, what else? Other foods that are high in histamine, especially preserved foods. Anything that was like 2-3 days old, I had to avoid it. So anything that I buy, in the grocery store, in the supermarket, I have to throw away or give to the kids after 2 or 3 days, because the histamine increases. So unless you cook the food and then put it in the freezer and then eat it a few days later, then you're okay. But if you don't, then you're not okay. It can affect histamine, and that's because I don't have enough diamine oxidase, I think it's called, in the small intestine. And I don't have that because maybe I've been taking the PPI, the acid reflux medication, for 31 years, and it's allowed like pathogenic or opportunistic bacteria, the bad bacteria from outside from the stomach to get into the stomach and then go into the small intestine and maybe outpopulate or affect the good bacteria. So there's a dysbiosis, as they say. So I tried a few more times a carnivore diet. It's always the same. I think you've got high cortisol. Your cortisol goes through the roof. And so you have lots of anxiety. And someone who's suffering from an anxiety state and depression maybe needs carbs. You need carbs to give you that insulin spike so that tryptophan can go into the brain. So the second time I felt really bad was the first time, you saw the video where I went to a hospital. My blood pressure was about 184, 186 over 110. And that's when they measured it when I was relaxing, I was calming down in the hospital. It must have been nearly 200. And I was in a bad shape. I just maybe had an argument with my daughter and I drove to my friend's house hoping it would go down, but it didn't go down. That's because I think the carnivore diet increased that cortisol level, and there's no carbohydrates to buffer the stress. As I said, some people might need carbohydrates. Some people maybe, like myself, I can't go into dietary ketosis. Like you can go into ketosis, and I've done it before. Like I used to eat one meal a day, and so I kind of was getting into ketosis, ketogenic state, but not one that was driven by meat, high fat. Some people say that you won't get into ketosis anyway because you're eating meat, and that's high in protein, more than 10%. So yeah, I felt really ill then. And yesterday, again, I had the same feelings at home. I had an argument with my other daughter. She was just, her hormones were all over the place. And she was just ratty with me. And I just left. I felt my heart beating, palpitations, and my just felt really, really on edge. Like I felt nervous. I felt angry. And I knew my blood pressure must have been so high because I felt shaky. My hands were clammy, cold, and I was like palpitating. I thought, to hell with this. And I'd been eating lamb because lamb is lower in histamine, a little bit of beef, a little bit of fish, butter. And I was just trying everything to bring it down. Yesterday I had a pear. I ate the pear. I thought that would bring it down. Drank some water, and I thought, like tomorrow, which is today, I'm going to go pure gay vegan. I'm going to eat just vegetables and fruits, and that's it. I've got a leg of lamb, pork, and another piece of pork, and I've just left it at my friend's place. She might eat a little bit every once in a while, but it's just, I think carnivore doesn't work for me. I've tried, God knows, I've tried so many times. And the only thing I can think is like maybe I drink teas, because I'm addicted to teas. And the caffeine doesn't help with blood pressure. It makes it worse. So the combination of caffeine, going into this ketosis state, withdrawal from carbohydrates, is so bad that it does affect me because I've been taking Seroxat, or it's called Paxil in the States, an SSRI that affects serotonin. And I think maybe if I didn't take it, I wasn't on any medication, it would be different. I don't know. Who knows? But definitely I failed. I just can't do it. And I've really tried. Like ended up in hospital once. Once, was it twice? I've ended up at hospital a few times trying these things. And yeah, I think the danger now is that, like, I'm not going to watch these carnivore channels again. I like some of these guys, but they don't. It's a cult. They don't see any other way out. I think Dr. Baker is a kind of more. He says, well, if I don't know, vegetables work for you, then it works for you. That's okay. He's more lenient, but the rest are just really like. I can understand them if it works for them, and they see other people doing well. They're going to think, well, vegetables and carbohydrates are the enemy, and so they're going to back up their this bias or this idea with all anecdotal stories, and which is fair enough, because you feel you want to do good and you want to send this vibe out into the world. Look, I'm okay. I'm eating meat, only meat, and you don't know if they're only eating meat. You know, one of these influencers, he tried to go on the carnivore diet, and his cortisol in the evening was so high that he tried to eat a little bit of honey. He had to do that to bring his cortisol down. Couldn't fucking sleep, because when your cortisol is high, you're not going to be sleeping. Your cortisol has to go down in order for you to sleep. So, yeah, I spent too many months or even years checking out these influencers and talking about, you know, their carnivore diet as if it's a panacea. It's not a panacea. Not for everyone. It might be for some people, but yeah, there's one guy who did the carnivore diet, and he's got a channel, and he had to go to the hospital. He had a stroke, I think, and his not his heart, but his blood pressure was so high, he had to take medication for blood pressure. And when he talks about this stuff, he says the carnivore community shun him, because they ostracize him, because they don't want people to know that he was on the carnivore diet. And he said, oh, it's okay, I don't mind. But I can see that it's not okay. And he does mind, because he's saying that, well, I think he said something like, he works with lead, you know, with guns. And so it's the lead that increased his blood pressure. Bollocks. It's the carnivore diet that brought I've got no fucking lead. I don't work with guns. I'm in the UK. My blood pressure went fucking through the roof. And so when I went to the hospital, they asked me, what are you doing? And I said, I'm doing the carnivore diet. And one of the nurses, he says, my brother did the carnivore diet and the same thing happened. His blood pressure went through the roof and he had to come to a hospital, and he stopped, and now he's okay. So he said, don't believe the thing that they talk about online, you know. You believe the things that we see here in the hospital. So obviously I didn't believe him. I thought, oh yeah, well, what do you know? But in my case, I was wrong. And so you don't get to see the anecdotal reports that are bad. You just get to see the good ones, because it's not in their interest. And I'm not talking about just carnivores here. Like, you might have some channels, because we're human beings, we have bias. Some vegan channels, some person might say, well, I did the vegan diet and it completely messed up my gut and I was suffering, and I did the carnivore and everything is healed. They'll cancel them. The same thing happens to carnivores. The carnivores are, you know, they talk about cancel culture, and you have like the right and the left. So if you're a carnivore, you're more of a right-wing person, you know. If you're on the left, you're more of a gay, like, vegan person. But they're both the same, because like the cancelling that has been done on the carnivore side is the same. You say, what cancelling? You you try and say something against the carnivore diet and see how they'll either ignore you. They won't rationally, you know, they say that, you know, vegans have smaller brains. Why don't they rationally, I'm not a vegan, by the way, but I'm just saying, why don't they rationally debate? They can't debate. It's just all anecdotal reports. So I'm feeling good. And then these stories on Dave Mack, you know, on his channel, you can find holes in all these stories. They are inspirational, you know, if you're on a carnivore diet, but that's the danger, because they might be leading you to a place that your body doesn't want to go, or they could be leading you into, like, I've gone to the hospital, massive blood pressure, and the doctor said, you know, he asked me she asked me what you were doing, what I was doing, and I said I did the carnivore diet. And so it's logged there that I did a carnivore diet. I did this no carbohydrate diet. And so it's not as if I'm lying or people are lying, but they don't want to know. We don't want to know. We don't want to know. We just want to know the positives. And so if you have a carnivore channel, carnivore is really high. It's peaking now, not peaking for a few years. You'll make money. If you've got a vegan channel, vegan used to be popular, what was it, 10, 20 years ago, whatever. Now it's really, if you look at the trends on Google, it's really low, whereas carnivore is really high. And why is it high? Because it works. No, because it's a new thing. It's the flavor of the month. It's after carnivore there'll be something else, and then carnivore will go down probably, unless it is a panacea that really helps everybody. But I doubt it. Not because it didn't work for me, but because, and I'm not talking about, yeah, actually, to be honest, I did feel bad about eating so much meat, because animals have to be killed for my sake. And yeah, I'm not too happy about that. Would I be able to kill a chicken? I'm a chicken. I wouldn't be able to kill a chicken. What kind of man are you? Well, I'm this kind of man. I suppose I'm still a child. I find it difficult to kill any animal. If I had to, yes, of course, I'd kill it. If I had to, really had to. If I was in the wilderness somewhere and I had to kill an animal, of course I would. If I couldn't sustain myself with something else and it was an emergency, yeah, I would. Would you eat a human being? Fuck me. That's a more difficult question. There's a film called Alive. It's about a plane crash in Chile, and people died there, and they were preserved in the ice, I think. And they had nothing to eat, and they eventually had to eat the other passengers until they were found by the authorities. That's messed up. Imagine if you had to eat a human being. But humans will do that. If I suppose you'd have to reach the point of starvation to eat another human being, though. Yeah, you'd have to reach it. You'd have to go past that Jesus state of 40 days of fasting before you even think about that. You'd have to have like hallucinations and stuff. Well, I would have to. That'd be difficult. I'd rather eat bloody worms, or drink my own pee or something. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think the carnivore diet taught me that. What did it teach me? It just taught me that I'm so gullible, easy to be bloody brainwashed. So now I'm going to go into the gay vegan diet. Just going to eat fruits, vegetables. The only problem with the vegan diet is, vegetarian diet, because I might have the old fish or something, is that it opens you up. It's a gateway. It's like a gateway drug, isn't it? If you smoke hashish or marijuana, it's very, or weed or whatever, it's very easy for you to get sucked into cocaine, because it's a gateway, isn't it? And so, I don't know. It's like when you just eat carnivore, when you just eat carnivore, it's easy, because it's a very restrictive diet and there's nothing else to eat. But if you eat vegetables, then you've got the gluten-free vegetable pizza. That's okay, but it's processed food. You've got Rice Krispies, cornflakes. They're vegan, aren't they? But there's so much other stuff added into it, because it's a processed food or a food-like product. That's what they have. Because, as I said, vegetarianism has been around since the 1970s. Now it's going down, but it's been around for a long time. And so the products have been made to cater for all the vegetarians. And so you've got all these products, vegan pizzas, vegan cheese or vegetarian cheese. You've got vegetarian restaurants, And so when you go vegan or vegetarian, it's a gateway. It can open up the way for eating really in an unhealthy way, for all this processed food. So that's what I have to be careful. When I go to the supermarket now, I have to be careful. Just go to the fruit and vegetable section. Just get some greens, some fruit, and that's it. But there is a temptation. Those crackers are bloody gluten-free. There's nothing wrong. That cheesecake is gluten-free. So there is that danger. Whereas with the carnivore, it's quite clear. Meat, eggs, butter, bacon. That's it. And water and salt. It's so clear that it's easy to stay on track. Well, not easy because you have cravings, but with the vegetable or vegan diet, it's a bit more difficult. And it is difficult if you've got, I've got histamine problems. So I have to avoid too much tomato and things like that, or avoid it altogether. So last night I had oats. I didn't have my oats this morning because I couldn't finish them last night, the oats. I can imagine you had your oats there at your friend's house. No, I meant my oats, the gluten-free oats last night in a bowl. That's what I meant. You can't, if you've got histamine problems, you can't eat things that are, overheated, like the leftovers, and heated up again the next day, because they'll increase all night in histamine. So I gave those oats to the dogs. I had beans on toast. It wasn't gluten-free bread, so my eyes are going to be itching later on. I'd rather have the itching, the histamine intolerance, than have the high blood pressure on the carnivore diet, that's for sure. One is much, much more dangerous, because high blood pressure not only seems to affect your heart, it will crush your kidneys. I felt like I was going to have a stroke or something. It felt so horrible last night when I was driving here to see my friend. I actually thought I wasn't going to make it. I felt lightheaded, and I thought, what the hell is this? And so, yeah, guys, I just failed again, and I don't think I'm ever going to try again. It's just too dangerous, My body's saying to me, look, time out. What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? So I know guys are going to say, just eat a balanced diet. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I'm just going to eat a bloody balanced, Mediterranean diet. And, the guys that do the carnivore diet, I'm on your side. It doesn't seem like I'm on your side, but any diet or regime, any technique that you use and it's working for you and it's making you healthy, just do it. I'm not talking about the average person who dabbles or is doing the carnivore diet for long term even. I'm talking about these influencers that they have a responsibility. What if somebody does the carnivore diet and it hurts them? They're just ignored, or they say you didn't do it properly. That's a cult. That's a religion. It's just like, lots of people saying, I prayed to the Lord Jesus. I prayed to the Lord and it fixed my arthritis. And one guy comes along and said, I prayed to the Lord and nothing happened. Why? Be quiet. Or they'll say, you didn't have enough faith, brother. You didn't have enough faith. It's the same thing. The same thing with this. You did the carnivore wrong. Or you must have been cheating. Have a few McDonald's along the way. A few jam tarts. It's like a cult. It is a cult. I'm not saying it's like a cult. It is a cult. There are people in the carnivore space that are nice people, and they're quite open-minded. They say, oh, okay, well, for some people it doesn't work. We don't have to paint everybody with the same brush. These vegans, they're not bad. If the vegans eat a certain way and it works for them, well, why not? Nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. It just doesn't work for everybody. So they see the other point, the other side of the. If they see it from this side, from the vegan side, they should also see it from this side. If it works for carnivores, that's great, but it might not work for all. And so the problem is, these people for whom it doesn't work for, why should they be ostracized? Shouldn't you try and understand, why doesn't it work for these people? It doesn't work. They'd rather ostracize these people because they can't stand the fact that it doesn't work for some people, or can actually lead to their deaths for some people. There are some people that I think can't even go into ketosis. There's some people who've got hemochromatosis, which means if they have too much, they retain too much iron. And they have this problem for years. It scars the liver, it scars organs, even the brain, the heart. You end up with cirrhosis and bad stuff, to death, basically. You die. If you eat meat, if you eat a carnivore diet, you're actually adding more heme iron into the equation. And so the body's already accumulating so much iron in the organs, and you eat red meat, which is full of heme iron, then you accumulate even more. So there are some people who actually know they have a hemochromatosis, and the carnivore doctors say, yeah, you can still do it. Just do a phlebotomy, or donate blood, because when you donate blood, it takes down the amount of iron in the blood. It's still dangerous though, You're messing around with some people who've got hemochromatosis. They're doing fine. Yeah, they're doing fine. Like if I've got hemochromatosis, I wouldn't be eating meat. I wouldn't even be eating spinach or anything that's bloody high in iron, because your body, I think your body should take in one. I think is it 1 milligram or 1 gram? But someone who's got hemochromatosis is accumulating 4 milligrams a day or 4 grams a day. Now, in the course of 1 year, could you imagine? This iron has to go somewhere, and so it's going to go into your organs. No, it's just too dangerous. Well, anyway, guys, that's my video on my failure on the carnivore diet. I'm not saying like it's a failure for everyone. It seems to be working for a lot of people, but the people that it doesn't work for, you never hear about them. You won't hear about them because because YouTube actually rewards all these channels, because it's a positive. Sorry, it's not positive. It's a cool kind of fad. It's a cool. Don't call it a fad. How dare you? It's a subject where lots of people are interested in, and so if you say carnivore diet didn't work for me, you'll get a lot of haters. But I don't mind saying it, because it's the truth. It didn't work for me, and I tried. Believe me, I tried for many years. I stopped for a little bit and then tried again. Oh, it's carb addiction. It's not fucking carb addiction. When your blood pressure goes through the roof, it goes to nearly 200. Like a few times it went 180. Like my blood pressure is never that much, and my body is saying stop, just stop. And I thought, okay, maybe I just have to, these are just humps, maybe I have to just ride the waves. No. It's more than riding the waves. It's like your body's saying, like, you feel like you're going to die, basically. You feel really bad, like out of control, heartbeat, shaking, and you feel like your heart is going to explode. And I don't want to go through that again. Maybe it's because, like, I've taken antidepressants for 31 years. And as I said, tryptophan has to get into the brain, and so if you have an insulin spike with carbohydrates, then tryptophan can be liberated from all the other amino acids and pass the blood-brain barrier or get into the brain and affect serotonin. But when you go into full ketosis, like dietary ketosis, and there is a difference between dietary ketosis and normal ketosis, which means being in a ketogenic state because of fasting. So you drink water or teas during the day, and you don't eat. You eat just once a day. You're kind of going into a ketosis. But every day in the morning, having eggs, like butter, and then in the afternoon having plowing down meat, and then I don't know, butter again. You're kind of in ketosis because you have a high fat diet, and I think it's moderate protein. Some people say you can't get into ketosis, but some people say you can. Yeah, it's a different state. It's a different state. It feels different. One feels natural and one doesn't feel natural. You're pushing your body. But for some people it works. So who am I to say that it's wrong? It's wrong for this body, this one here, because this body is saying it's bad, it's bad. So you know, I have tried, and I believed in the carnivore diet so much that I tried so many bloody times, and I can see it like leading to a stroke for me. And that's a sad thing to say, because I've invested so much in it. I bought, you know, the original book by Saladino, the Carnivore Code, and yeah, anyway, another failure. I'm not against the carnivores, but I think any carnivores listening to this should say to themselves, what if it doesn't work for someone? And let's take away the excuses, you know, the excuses, yeah, the reasons, and say if it doesn't work for some people, you have to leave an option there. Like any vegans, you know, if a person has tried the vegan diet and so many times and it just doesn't work, you have to leave some space in your own head to say that it just, for some people, it doesn't work, you know. So yeah, for me, it hasn't worked. So I'm going to go to the ladyboy diet, the vegetables, soy boy diet. Yeah, I'm going to buy some tofu today. I know my gut's it's not going to fare well. But anyway, farewell to you guys. Speak to you guys in the next video. That was just a video like, talking about my ups and downs with my diet, and yeah, hopefully with a vegan diet or kind of Mediterranean diet, I can get better results. Even if if I'm clogged up, even if I've got mucus in the morning, even if I've got red eyes, I'd rather have that than have the high blood pressure. That's so scary. Like when you've got blood pressure of like 170, 180, it's horrible. It's frightening, especially when you're used to having like 120, 130. So I've tried so many times and it hasn't worked. It could be because of the caffeine, because I was still drinking teas, and that will increase your blood pressure. It can dehydrate you, so that can increase blood pressure as well. Well, anyway, so have you guys had any problems where you just fail at certain diets, and then you try to talk about it online and you're ostracized, because you don't fit the mold? I don't fit the mold in anything. So that's just a quick video about my various health scares and diets that I've done. Yeah, so I'm gonna hit the carnivore diet, hit nail on the head, as they say, and not be tempted anymore, and just do a normal kind of diet, and look into foods that will lower blood pressure, like pomegranates, berries, things like that, leafy greens. What about the oxalates? Well, you can rotate the oxalates. You don't have to have high oxalate food all the time. Be aware of which are the high oxalate foods. Eat those 1 week, and then next time you do shopping, you eat lower oxalate foods. Oxalates are like, well, you guys who do carnivore will know what it is, but foods that are high in oxalates, okay, I better go now. See you guys later.
With frost, cold night in the winter, how cold. Sorry that I fall away sometimes. Sorry that I fall away sometimes. Yeah. The end, got to end it all on the weekend. Sorry that I feel that way sometimes. Sorry that I feel that way sometimes.